YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I've given you a video on army selection tips, and I will probably expound on that a little more, but I also wanted to give you a video on a few other basic things to know in Total War Rome 2 when you're going to get into multiplayer. I do have it set to custom battle right now, but the multiplayer screen is essentially the same, and the units are the same and all that kind of stuff, so this is just a good place for me to teach you without having to actually be in a battle. So what I wanted to do is just explain a few things on the faction selection screen, and first of all is a few things to be able to take note of. So let's say that you're relatively new, you jump into a battle, there's a few things to be aware of right off the bat. This little pane over here that I'm circling with my mouse is kind of your information pane, and it's going to show you your maps, which when it's set to settings you can see your map, the funds, what time of day, season, weather, all that different stuff is here. And then if you flip it over to unit info, it allows you to hover over a unit or click on a unit and see the statistics of that unit and the abilities down here. So it's important to note these things here. This tells you basically how good a unit is, and this tells you that any special abilities that that unit has. So that's the information pane. Again, settings gives you the map and the game settings. Unit info lets you see the unit info. Of course, your opponent's faction is here. I know this is, you know, maybe you're like, oh, this is too simple. Well, I'm just trying to show you all. So that's it right there. So in any case, we've got all of our setup here. Out here in the center, this is your units and your ability to, you know, save armies or load armies, and add experience and reset your army back to nothing. So I have an army selected here. It is set to ultra funds, which is why this is so big. And I just want to explain through a few things. Okay, general skill type. Now, most factions have 3, a few have 4, and those came in the Caesar and Gaul. But you basically have the 3 same for most every faction, which is Warrior, Commander, and Strategist. Each provides its own benefits. Warrior gives you Warcry and Intimidate. Warcry creates fear or lowered morale in a single enemy unit, and Intimidate prevents an enemy unit from using its special abilities. Commander gives you, I'm pretty sure, Rally and Raise Banner. One of them boosts your morale, and the other one boosts your melee defense and something or other stats of all the units within your circle of influence for a certain amount of time. Pretty useful. Strategist gives you Second Wind and Battle Rhythm. Battle Rhythm increases the attack and other stats of a certain unit that you select. And Second Wind recovers the fatigue of any given unit. Even if they're completely exhausted, when you use it, it makes that unit go back to fresh. So those are the 3 different general skills to be aware of. Some factions like Rome actually have a special one, like Caesar here, but that's not common to all factions. So that's what the general skill type is. Select what you think is going to help you, and it applies this skill to whichever unit you choose as your general, which is listed right here. So these are the units that you can choose to serve as your general. Your general is the one in this slot right under the star. So of course you select your army through troops here, and this is not an army selection screen again. This is just me going to talk about a few different basics. But here's where all your troops are. You can scroll up and down to see them, and they are grouped by category. Over here you have 2 buttons, Unit Roster and Equipment. In this particular scenario, I'm the Defender, so it actually allows me to bring defense equipment. It won't do this in a multiplayer game, so this is just in a custom battle, unless you've set up some type of defensive game in a match or a battle list battle. But your equipment here for defense, like sharp stone beds, spike traps, caltrops, fireballs, brimstone pits, all kinds of nice stuff. Yeah, all the nice stuff you want your enemy to step on. If you're playing a siege battle, this equipment tab is where your siege equipment is, like towers and rams and all that other kind of stuff, and you just arrow up what you want to bring. Alright, otherwise that's your unit roster. When you're ready to start a battle, obviously you click on the start battle. If you want to save your army setup, say like, man, this is an awesome army setup, I want to use it more often, click the save button and give it a name. Awesome Army. So there you go. You don't have to be as sarcastic about it as I am. And when you want to load that setup, you come in here, Awesome Army, Carthage, sweet, and it tells you how much it costs. So in case you're playing in different funds, you can see. And you just click it and load it. Alright, at that point, you're pretty much ready to start a battle. And just in case you're not aware of it, if someone's chatting at you in multiplayer, you'll hear a little drop in the, like kind of a drop noise. You can either push Y to pull up the chat screen, or push this little balloon up here that says Ave. And this is where you chat with your opponent or your teammates. So you can click it again to get rid of it, or I think push escape to get rid of it as well. Yep. Alright, so of course, when you're ready, you can start the battle, and I will go ahead and do so. And I'm going to just kind of teach you the basics. Again, very basic. The map is up here at the top of the screen where it says Berdigala, and then it shows you the factions, and then you get an overlay of the battlefield. Before you go into battle, take note of this. Understand where you're going to deploy. So you can see I have some forest in my deployment. I'm pretty sure yours is always the yellow deployment. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, please, but I think that's correct. You know, it shows me that, yeah, I have some forest, but it's mostly a flat map. And okay, here we are in the deployment screen. So let's go ahead and talk through some of the basics of army control. You should get some of this if you play the prologue campaign, but I'm honestly just going to go through it from the ground up. So camera controls, if you don't know this much, you're probably in trouble, but I'm going to cover it here. W, A, S, and D is what strafes you forward, back, and side to side. Q and E rotates, and then I think it's Z and X that zoom in and out. And that's pretty much your basic camera controls. There's other controls you can use on the keyboard, but it's easiest, like say for instance if I click the mouse wheel and then move the mouse around, I can pretty much pan the camera to any point where I want to go, as you can see, and you're probably getting sick. You can scroll the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. A left click selects, and a right click moves. So you can also use dragging functions. So I can drag a unit into a formation. See how I right click drag, I should specify. I can drag them into a very long formation, or make them a very narrow formation, or make them face that way, or make them face that way. And the little yellow markers help you know where the unit's going to face and what it'll look like. Alright, I'm going to put them back here. So that's how you can move your units around in the deployment phase. All your information you have up right here is, let me first go into the game options. I should probably show you this. So if you hit escape and go into the options, you can go in here to your battle interface, and there's some important things in here. You can set the size of the flags. You can see they're very small or very large, depends on what you want. And then floating flags, if you don't like them at all, you can just say only when I'm mousing over, or never. I usually keep them on. You can pick selection markers, which shows you which unit you have selected. Path markers, which shows you where they're moving. Target zones, which is like for your missile units to show you where they can fire. Projectile trails, which is what they use to help you be able to see where fights are going on. But if you're like, I don't like those white lines behind my arrows, it looks stupid, then you should be able to turn it off right there. Help markers, all that kind of stuff. Unit card man count, that turns on this number of men right down here. And then left click unit drag, I'll turn this on, and then it has tooltip mode. You can say never, delayed, or always, and tooltip is when you're hovering over something. So I've got the left click unit drag turned on there, and of course you can go do your graphics, your controls, and everything else. I'll go to game settings. You can turn on battle advice if you want, like give me a little, give me a lot, or give me none. And then the aide de camp is basically the little announcer that comes on. It says shameful display, or our general is getting killed in a shameful display, or any version of shameful display. So if you're curious about when you're making a shameful display, you really need to turn that guy on. Oh man, I'm pretty corny. But in any case, yeah, so get a feel for your camera controls. If you push the shift button for instance, while strafing, it makes things move faster. So holding shift and using the strafe buttons makes you go quicker, see? Also, you can double left click anywhere on the battle map. So like say, hey, I want to be right here where the enemy general is. Boom. You can click it and it takes you there. Or I want to be back at my army. There you go. So that's another thing you can do. Let's walk through one more camera control, which is the tactical view. You can push the tab key and get this tactical overview. You can let go of the tab key and it takes you back down. Not sure how useful it is, but just in case, you can use that. So let's go through the information here. On your far left is your unit card information. If you have it turned on, it can be disabled in the options if you don't like it being in your way. But this tells you the information of whatever unit you're moused over, including enemy units. So I find it to be very helpful. Here is your power balance of power. Basically shows you, relatively speaking, how your forces are balanced against the enemy forces. And then, of course, across here you have all your unit cards. Unit cards can be clicked on to select a unit, so you don't have to select them just on the battlefield. And let's say that I'm in the middle of a fight and I'm like, holy crap, where's my elephants? You can double left click a unit card and it takes you straight to that unit. So something to be aware of. You can right click the unit card apparently and open the encyclopedia. So there you go. So yeah, that's your unit cards. You can drag unit cards. Let's say that I want this horseman over here close to the spears that I'm going to put him with. So you can left click and drag it across and put it next to your spears if that's where you want it. Also, you can select all the units of the same type. So for instance, I want to select all of my Libyan peltast. I can hold control and double left click and it's going to select all my Libyan peltast. That also works if I do so here on the battle map. So see? And same thing with any unit that's all the same type. Let's say that I want to select multiple units but they're not the same type. Well, there's a couple ways I can do that. I can hold control still and just start picking the units that I want. Just like that. Or again, you can do the same thing out here on the actual battle map. I'm holding control and selecting. Alright, so that's your unit cards, and that's kind of how they work. This little icon up here at the top indicates what kind of unit it is. So in this case, it's a melee infantry, so it's got the little sword. Here you can see the spears, the bow and arrow for a missile unit. The spears with the slash through it means shock cav. The diamond with the slash through it is melee cav. Your general has the star on it, and so forth. So that kind of tells you what kind of unit it is from a glance. This blue line down here at the bottom is the amount of ammo, and the green line represents how many men are left in that unit, or basically the unit health. And right here it says 100% when I'm mousing over. And that number, of course, is the actual number of men. On your unit card, or on your unit information, I forgot to point out the different stuff. This is the number of men alive in the unit at the time, and how many it came with originally. This is the number of kills they've gotten, and this is their XP meter as it builds. When a unit fills that XP meter, it gives them a chevron, which you see here. In this case, it's a bronze chevron. And when a unit has a chevron, that means it actually has had its base stats upgraded. And it usually affects things like melee attack, melee defense, and base morale, which you can see the little white there indicates what that upgrade is affecting. So that's, and of course you can see when I'm moused over, it also pulls up the little tooltip that tells me what this unit is, how many men, what kind of infantry it is, and what their status is. Right now they're confident and they're fresh. So confident is their morale indication, and fresh is their stamina indication. When you look at a unit flag, you get the same information here. So you can see on a unit flag from a distance what kind of unit it is from that right there. And then the morale is right up here in this little diamond. Red or green indicates good, yellow indicates a little bit wavery, and red indicates wavering. So something to be aware of. I think that's pretty much covers it for unit cards. Below your unit cards, when any unit is selected, you have a combination of controls. Over here on the left are controls like run, melee mode, halt, and group controls. And then in the middle you have formation controls. So let's say that you want to put your units in formation. I can select, say, my hoplites, and I want them into a single line, or I want them into a column, or whatever. That's how you can do that. If you want to do custom formations, you can simply move your units to where you want them, and then assign them to a group. Well, there's a couple of ways to assign them to a group. Let's say that I want like a kind of a delta formation here. You can assign this unit to a group, and there's two different kinds of groups. I'll try and explain it here. You can do it right here, where you go to group controls, and you can say create selection group, which I can do right here. And now you can see that it's come over here and designated this as 1, and this group is all here selected. So now I can actually, if I want to unselect them, I can just push the 1 key on my keyboard and it selects group 1. These guys will not move in formation though, unless you see a little lock right here. And there's a couple of ways to put them in a locked formation. Right here it says create formation group. If I click that one more time, now the little lock comes up. Now if I click a movement order or just move these guys, they move in formation, even when the battle started. You can do this quicker by just pushing Control G. That locks or unlocks the formation. Also, if you have no group, you can push Control. That's something I need to show you later. You can push Control G to go ahead and put them in a locked group right off the bat, or you can just push the G key to put them in a battle group, and that's okay. I don't want them to move in formation, but I want to be able to select them all at once. That's when you just put them in the unlocked group. And then again, Control G locks or unlocks, or you can just push G to get rid of the group altogether. Make sense? Group orders. That's how it's used. There's other things here like AI group attack, AI group defend. I will show you how to use those later. Alright, so that's unit groups, and hopefully that makes sense. When making a formation that you want to be able to move in formation, make sure your units are not overlapping or too close to each other, or it will bug it out. It's something to be aware of. Alright, to the right of your faction symbol, which is right here, are the unit special abilities. So any special abilities that your unit has are represented here. So in the case of these hoplites, they have formation attack, hoplite wall, square, and rapid advance. Some of these are only available to be used once the battle has started. If you have the tooltips turned on and you mouse over it, it tells you what these abilities do. Familiarize yourself with these abilities. It will help you a great deal. Also, they're already set, or you can set hotkeys like, you know, Control Shift something or this and that to use these if you don't want to come down here with the mouse and push them every time during the battle. If you have multiple units selected that share the same type of special ability, you can toggle it all at once for all of those units. So right now, if I were to click Shield Wall, all of these swords go into Shield Wall. Or you can do it individually by selecting one unit. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So that's special units. You can get rid of your army panel if it's in the way and you just want things to look nicer. Same thing with this little minus key over here. I don't know what cycle... Oh, you can see your commander if you really want to here. Not real useful, but... over here, you have the battle timer and all of the controls like pause, slow motion, play, fast forward, and faster forward. This is your tactical map toggle button if you want to do it with the mouse. And this is your battle map here. And yeah, the battle map indicates your forces in yellow, enemy forces in red, and helps you see the strategic overview at a glance. Alright, well, let's get my army set to go. I'm going to go ahead and get them lined up here. And you get better at this over time, so just practice. The best way to get better is to play battles and challenge yourself. And let's see. And just going to get all my guys out here.
Melee infantry at the ready.
And there we go.
Ready to ride.
Alright, so let's say I have everything the way I want, and I want to move my whole army as a group. I can select everything, Control G, now my whole army moves as a group. Alright, when you're ready, you can start the battle. A few other things to be aware of is tooltips that your mouse can give you on the battlefield. It may only work when the battle started, so let's start it, and I'm going to pause because the Romans are set to attack me. Yeah, so see if I tooltip over this forest, it shows a little forest there. Maybe it won't work whenever the battle's not running. Yeah, okay, so when I tooltip over, it says forest, highly effective at hiding troops, but slow movement speed, so it tells you that your speed is reduced by 30%. So any terrain feature that has some effect, that tooltip pops up there right under your pointer and tells you what it's going to do, and that differs based on the map. Yeah, so be aware of that because it affects your units. So basically what it's saying is, hey, you can hide your units in here and they're going to get some cover, but they're also going to be slower. And there's certain units which you don't want to be slower, like cavalry, for instance. So that's just something to be aware of. All right, so let's talk about movement orders real quick. I'm just going to let my army sit here. I'll put it in slow motion real quick so that the Romans don't get here too fast. So you can see me panning around with my camera. Get used to the camera because it's going to help you a lot. Some people actually like fighting the battle backwards where they can see the enemy army approaching and see all their troops. You can choose whatever suits you best. And let's talk about movement order. So select a unit, you move it by right-clicking, or if you want it to automatically run, you can double right-click, and the unit will automatically run, or you can toggle the run down here. You can halt the unit with backspace, or with that halt button right there. And of course these buttons are all the same as they were in the pre-deployment. So I'm going to move this unit back. That's a basic movement command. You can also right-click and drag a unit. When you do this, it allows you to put the unit in whatever position or formation you want, or several units. So see, I can select all of these at once and do the same thing. Makes sense? If you have a locked group, like I do here, and you select the whole group and right-click and drag, it allows you to move the whole group in formation however you want. So if I want to move them further forward, I can click them further forward. See that? And I can move my whole army at once. So let's say that I want to move up my army just slightly. I can do it just like this. And then my whole army moves in formation. So there you go. Another thing that you should probably be aware of, when you right-click and drag, it does automatically make your unit run. If you don't want your unit to run, hold down on the control key and control right-click and drag, and your unit will walk. That's sometimes handy if you're trying to sneak through a forest, but you can run and sometimes still remain hidden if the enemy doesn't have line of sight on you. Just something to be aware of. I'm trying to think what else, if anything, you all need to know about. Oh, waypoints. That's another thing, waypoints and spacebar. So let me explain those real quick. If I hold down on the spacebar, it shows you all of the arc of fire for my missile units. So these red arcs here represent the range of my different missile units. And you also see blue circles, and that represents the radius of influence for my units that have the special ability called, oh, what is it called? It's somewhere right here, encourage. This is basically an encourage radius. Your general's radius too, so see this blue radius around my general? That indicates the area in which his unit has an effect on the other units around, like a morale boosting effect. So that helps you understand that. Trying to think of anything else. Okay, yeah, so back to waypoint movement. So let's say that you want, let's say I'm trying to outflank and I'm busy and I can't click enough orders to effectively outflank. You can give your unit waypoints. So let's say that I want to move out here and then back behind the enemy. So I can double right click a move here and then hold shift, double right click another move, another, and you can see there that line being laid out. If I hold the spacebar, this unit's now going to move to each of these positions without me having to issue them another command. So that can be very helpful, and it can be done with groups. That's pretty much all your essential command orders. Of course, attack orders are given by right-clicking. If a unit, like a missile unit for instance, you can toggle its melee ability down here. So if I toggle this, it means they're going to go into melee attack and not use missiles when I right-click an attack order. Or you can simply hold the Alt key and see it turns into a sword. And you can Alt and right-click to issue that same order. So just another thing to be aware of. It works in naval battles too. So, alright, let's push play, and we'll go ahead and engage the enemy. No idea whether or not I can win, because the enemy actually has a pretty substantial force.
We are at your command. Hoplite!
The enemy has to attack me, so I'm going to go ahead and box up a little. Actually, I'm not sure I want to be in hoplite wall.
Hoplite is ready!
Getting a little too thin for me there.
What are your orders?
So you're going to see me. I'm going to start issuing some commands. Here, I'll actually use a waypoint command.
Our orders!
And I'm not guaranteed to win here, folks. The Roman army that I put against me is actually pretty good. And let's go ahead and start an outflanking maneuver here. Same thing here.
My lord!
And
Orders, my lord!
quick a charge order out
Our
there.
general is under attack.
Orders! Forward! Our orders! At ready!
Okay,
Libyan infantry!
time to engage the enemy.
Keep strength! What are your orders? Our orders! Orders! Awaiting orders! Libyan infantry! War elephant! My lord!
Okay,
Infantry at your command! Forward, you dogs! War elephants! Riders, advance!
bring my elephants in.
Our orders!
Again, this is not a perfect example of how to play the game, but you'll see me get into fight a battle and get some idea for how it goes, and see me trying to issue all the commands and get an idea for why it takes practice to get better at a Total War game. Okay, things appear to be going pretty well for me here. Anyway, so you can see how issuing of proper commands can help you win a battle. It's something that you want to get familiar with. The Roman army that I brought against me was actually fairly capable. Not to say that my Carthaginian army wasn't also capable, but you can see that, you know, it's not hard to do this to the AI, of course, but
The battle is turning in our favor.
something to be aware of. Again, look at the balance bar, how it changes during a battle if you start to win. Obviously starts to tilt in your favor. And yeah, you can just kind of see how everything works here. Anyway, hopefully this has been a helpful video for you. I know that for some of you it's way too basic, but for some of you who are new to the game and just trying to learn how to play Total War in general, these commands actually Look, I'm killing my own elephants here, actually, with all the javelin fire. These commands are viable for, I think, pretty much Rome 2 and Rome 2 and Shogun 2. The commands are essentially the same, not entirely, but essentially. And yeah, there you go. So that's how you can destroy a Roman army, or at least an example one. And that's how you can move your troops about the battlefield. I will bring you another video soon with more tips on building armies and strategies, but I thought that this would be an appropriate video to show you that just kind of breaks all that down. The game does give you some degree of in-game lessons if you play the prologue campaign, but hopefully I've given you a little more than what it'll give you. And on the outro screen here too, you can see the battle results and all the unit results specifically. So anyway, HeirofCarthage signing off for now. Hope that was helpful, folks.